Peace and love, family. Welcome back to another episode of Historical Origins. Now, this is our 10th episode, so this is really big, but I decided to do something different. Before we get into that, I would like to say thank you to everybody who supported me this far. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. Come on in. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you keep watching. What I do here on the Midwest Black / Historical Origins is pretty much debunk a lot of things throughout history. Okay, I'm a historian, self-taught. I've been on this journey for a very, very long time. So again, if you're new here, make sure you go check out Historical Origins episodes 1 through 9, and then we got 10 here. But the reason why this one is special is because I wanted to put kind of myself on trial, meaning I get a lot of questions. People ask me, who was I taught by? How do I figure out a lot of this information? Or who did I study? Who did I study up under? Which are great questions. I was self-taught, but luckily, we came up in the age of, the internet, and still a lot of good books out there. So I found one great Grandmaster teacher, and we're going to talk about that later in this presentation. And then I just kind of started rolling from there. And this is something that anybody can do if you really take the time and you want to, self-educate. And even better right now, we are in a time of where we are talking about empowerment, specifically Black empowerment, and kind of, reclaiming some things, drawing a line in the sand on a lot of different topics. And I'll speak on a few things later as we get through here. But this is more so to get my teachers list. You can't come across too many people and be like, who is your grand teacher? Or your great scholars list, rather. We got all these different things that we can talk about here and there, but we can't throw out, historians and educators and scholars like we do rappers. So this is what we're going to do for some early Black history. I'm going to give you my top 40 greatest influencers, and these are the people that helped me get to where I am today, studying their material and really just taking the time out to sharpen my craft before I could put it out to give you all that. So I'm going to cut that off there, and we're going to get into it again. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share this early Black History Month gift to all of you. Hope all of you doing well. Happy New Year still to you, and let's go ahead and get it. All right, welcome on in. Come on in. Make sure y'all got all your accessories, everything you need, because it's going to be a good one. All right, so again, top 40 most influential list. Now, everybody on this list, some people I couldn't get birthdays for, and I'm not displaying all of their material or their great works. That would take a lifetime to do, especially the people that I have on this list. But I'm going to put a lot of things in perspective of why I have them on here and kind of how they influence me on this journey and why they're important for our kids to, do something different this Black history. We go to a lot of these libraries, we go to a lot of these other different places, and the content and the material is very standard, very limited, and sometimes picked by certain people that don't want us to know everything on a wide scale. And that's kind of been my whole purpose, is to challenge information and challenge things. I've always been a curious kid to kind of know the origins of things and the origins of especially history. All right, so first person we're going to get into, and this may shock a lot of people, is the great Noble Drew Ali. Now, before you guys go there, I know you've seen my content, and there's no faking it all around it. I pretty much subscribe to an ancient Kemetic theology, about a lot of things, how I think, their origin story, etc. So to all my Hebrew brothers and sisters, this is one of those people that did a lot with what he had at that time. And, starting especially being born, a little before the 1900s, his journey is one to show you proof of the Moorish connection between the Americas and overseas in other different parts of the world. And if you aren't familiar with who the Moors are, I talked about that in one of my earlier historical origins episode. but it's important to know who they are because of what they did in history. And if you can understand the Moors' accomplishments, we're talking, the 6th and 7th and 8th century AD, and basically black warriors, black soldiers who came into power. A lot of them were from Northern Africa and they ruled Spain. These are the ones who brought in all the spices, all the foods, all the castle building, opening up the trade routes to Spain and things like that. And that really ruled the world after the fall of the Egyptian and Kushite empires. The Moors, if you will, were kind of the extension of some of the Magi, if you know what the Magi are and their positions that they played for the Egyptian empire. Then you had the Moors. Bad thing is, some of them would have involvement in the African and Arab slave trade. We find a lot of evidence there, but that's another topic. But nevertheless, the noble Drew Ali expanding, his thoughts and his beliefs on the Quran and adding science, to the religion and kind of pointing out some of the similarities in astrology and things like that. And that's important because science and religion always have kind of butted heads. And this is one of those things that kind of goes back to, the many secret societies and many other origins and brotherhoods that have passed down information. And you can bet and believe the Moors were part of those brotherhoods, a lot of them, even map makers and things like that, which would really give the rise to the pirate area. Because once the Moors, uncovered a lot of different gold and a lot of different, again, back to the trade routes and had a lot of different kingdoms running. And they were very, very valuable in the medieval times. These are pretty much what you're going to see is the expansion of what they did, and a lot of this stuff is going to become corrupt. And really that gave the rise to the whole piracy era. And you still had Moors, participating in that time and even the discovery of America. So it's big to do that. But the holy seven circle Quran. Some of you may not have heard of that, and you need to study that if you are definitely taking, the Islamic doctrine, at face value. A lot of you know that I don't really deal with religion specifically because, again, I know too much. And hopefully this channel here will help you do the same thing. But, and this is one of those things too, because I've broke this down. I think I might have said it in my video, but although he himself is a prophet, considered to be the prophet, Noble Drew Ali, he talks about Muhammad in here, but he also talks about Jesus and stating very clearly in this book that, the belief of Jesus is necessary, to be a part of this whole, religion as well. So a lot of it is overlapping. What is in the Quran, but you have a next level of things. And again, the science aspect. So I encourage people to look at that just to kind of break all that down. And that is a big reason why I've chosen to study him. And again, other, more things. And if you go back in history, you can find different temples over here in the 1200s, and I think the 1300s, some even in some of the chain islands on the way to America. So this is a very big movement that if you are not educated on, you need to figure that out. So early inspiration. Next, Brother Chancellor Williams. And I actually have this book here. Chancellor Williams is another one of our early on greats. And this book here, The Destruction of Black Civilization, is very important. And if you have not read it, you need to get this book because it clearly breaks down the calculated timeline of what a lot of these other nations were doing to destroy, the black superpowers of the world. Because when the Greeks and the Romans, come in contact with Africa, Africa, the Kushites, Ethiopia, all of this other stuff you guys know of, really was looked at as the center of the world. And all of these people came along, wanted to destroy that. And that's kind of how they are in power today. This has been a long plotted demise, and it's very unfortunate. So what Brother Williams was able to do was kind of break that down and go through the processes of how that happened, and how the fall of kingdoms, even the great medieval kingdoms all across North Africa, and how they fell. And what the plot was going to be, when it came to the slave trade and how everybody participated in our downfall, or, the downfall from Africans being brought to America. So this is a very deep book, and it's one that I suggest you get into. So I got into this very long, but another good person to study for Black history. Next, Brother John G. Jackson. John G. Jackson is a great, and he's often considered kind of like the grandfather or the real grandmaster that kind of broke open, the broke out of the normal mode of Christianity and really digging deeper and studying and finding, basically a path back, you know, to that land and really able to break all that down and the similarities and the copy and the theft of what Christianity, comes out of and its origin. So this book here, Christianity Before Christ, and that's very deep. And a lot of people growing up in the church, they may not, want to read material like this, but I encourage you to, because see, that was always my thing. We never really learned anything new, like actually learning, and when you are on a path of learning, you should always be able to prove something. And John G. Jackson was kind of one of the first brothers to step out and do that and actually, you know, showing the proof, showing the theft. And you got this other book, Pagan Origins, Christ Myth. So, a lot of people call the Egyptians and Kemet pagans and all that. That's not really their thing. The definitions out here, these words confuse a lot of people a lot of time in history when they're talking about tribes and cultures and different things. So you get a lot of nonsense and hidden messages behind the words, which is also good to know etymology. But nevertheless, that's a good one. Ethiopia and the Origin of Civilization, which is key. And that really sparked a fire within the community because everybody's always talking about this, Garden of Eden, this magical place. It's supposed to be in the Middle East, but somehow all the animals that are in the garden and ended up on Noah's boat, they're not native to that land. It's something to think about. So when you have the talk of Ethiopia, this goes back to tracing DNA and the oldest human bones and, oldest, tribes and the building blocks to what we know as civilization, oldest calendar dates, oldest, hunting, gathering peoples, the Twa. So you have these origin stories coming out of Ethiopia, and John G was able to expose that. So a lot of people that are going to come next, follow behind his work, they all credit him. So I had to credit him on my path. Brother John Henry Clark. This is a powerful brother too, and not to mention it, John Henry Clark and I believe John G. Jackson still have lectures on YouTube. A lot of these people do, so you can find and Google all these people. And when I tell you, this is the most powerful thing you can do to give your child or these people that I'm pointing out. John Henry Clark, brother Clark was definitely one to get in your face after John G. Jackson, and that is pulling up on you, having conferences, having seminars and things, even with the Black Church, when he started, and delivering his message. And one of his biggest things and his biggest words, African people in world history, talking about the contributions. And he would talk about Ethiopia also being the cradle of civilization. A lot of these people knew, because science was already there, but it didn't support the religion. So that's why I said they always go back and forth. And when I say didn't support religion, mainly Christianity, because that is like number one in the world. And I think Islam is next, or Islam could be number one. I don't know. And then this other work, Christopher Columbus and the Black Holocaust, because when we mention Holocaust, we always think about the Jews and everything like that. But the Black experience, dealing with global white supremacy and these other nations that came to be after they conquered us, that is a Holocaust. Slavery was a Holocaust. And sometimes people don't often look at it like that, but that is the fact of it. And we need to start thinking of it like that because that's this, a big part of this whole movement and why, we deserve reparations. We were the stock that built this country. Nobody else has our story, so don't ever let them try to down talk our story. But nevertheless, Brother John Henry Clark, so powerful. You need to listen to his lectures. And he later went blind in his life and was still spitting fire, unfortunately. But this brother was very, very powerful, very powerful. And then one of the highly top grandmasters on a lot of people's lists, Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben, a lot of you have heard of him. Um, this brother was so powerful at then taking people back to Africa. And that was the thing, getting brothers getting started out and taking people back to actually see the proof and writing books. This brother was a phenomenal author. I actually had Africa, Mother of Civilization, and unfortunately somebody stole it from me, trying to be a good Samaritan, but you know how things go. But I'd rather you steal the information because information is free. And that's what I want you guys to understand. So, Black Man of the Nile, all of these different works, and even this book down here, he actually worked very closely with Brother Clark. Cultural genocide. You know, that is what has happened to us. Strategic planning. Nobody else had to go through what we had to go through. It was strategically done, which is vibes very, very different. But Dr. Ben, considered to be one of the greatest of all time, literally, you know, opened his heart and everything that he did. Um, really, really just put a lot of effort into things. And you got Genesis and Exodus, that story. I think in this book he actually talks about, the real Exodus story and how you get the flip-flop, how you get the story in the Bible. So a lot of people, back then, my list, they were taking heat, which is why they don't want you to know about some of these people, but we're not going to do that here today. Definitely look up Dr. Ben. A lot of his stuff is on YouTube too. Sheikh Anta Diop, or Diop, a lot of people say. Another great. This brother here, I own this book, The African Origins of Civilization. Diop was a genius at breaking down the different, I think it's 6 or 7 different type of humanoids. And I think I talked about this in Historical Origins, one of the episodes too. And breaking down the genetics and the origins, again, leading back to Ethiopia, but again, talking about all of these different versions and forms of life before you get the Homo erectus, and really kind of breaking that down. And then the different tribes and the great kingdoms and how they ran the world and all of this different stuff. So the knowledge was known back then. And again, this is going into the 40s and getting ready to go in the 50s. A lot of these guys rose to their height in the 50s. So we've always had this long line of people fighting the system and on the front line of education, but they don't want you to know. So that's why one of those things, with this whole, trying to get rid of black education and different things like that, dumb descent, whatever his name is, down in Florida. That whole thing. But I've heard, nevertheless, black churches open the door trying to do history. Well, the problem with that is how far are you willing to go? Because we need to restructure the dynamic of the black family, one, and then how we think. And you can't do that till you really got to put it all together in your head, which is why I suggest reading and education. Education is the way out the hood. That is the only way. And all the bad stuff, you know what happens. So, but nevertheless, this book, Civilization or Barbarism, talking about the origins of the European and the things that he were doing, that caveman, the background of that, and the need for certain things. A lot of this stuff you can find, in certain cultural habits today, and they break all this different stuff down. So very important, brother, to study. Neely Fuller. Got to put Neely Fuller on this list, and Neely Fuller is still alive, maybe almost 100 years old. So shout out to our brother Neely Fuller. Neely Fuller is great for definitely bringing the attention of how we looked at what we were calling white supremacy, and that's being used a lot more these days. And you got to understand that term. That is a global term. We don't control the world. The superpowers do, and the superpowers always have white interest, number one on the list. So start there and think about everything else that comes under that and how they kind of operate. That is the systematic oppression, systematic anti-black racism. We don't control that. So Neely Fuller specifically pointed out, how they do that, how they work in these systems, and pretty much the codeness that they're on. There's a spoken unspoken, if you will, and that is, I'm white and I say so, meaning that they can do anything without any explanation. Even if sometimes you see things on camera with the police doing, it's still, you didn't see that. So this brother here is a soldier on the front line that definitely sacrificed, putting that out there and exposing the ills of white supremacy. Brother Jacob Carruthers, this is another loved brother here. ancient Egyptian studies. Again, you had a time where these scholars in the 50s and 60s, they were spending time going back to Egypt, actually showing the proof, taking the time to write, deciphering the Medu Neter, which a lot of you say that it has never been deciphered, but that is bogus. We have people who have put their life and decades into it. You just don't know about them. And Brother Carruthers was one of those, and intellectual warfare is another piece he worked on. And that is just basically how white supremacy controls you intellectually. And again, he wrote this, not sure when, but everything is always designed to take you into the future. And even a lot of these ill programs and plans and ideas that they have for society. So this is just how they pull on your intellectuals. So it is a warfare. It's always some type of warfare, and it's a warfare on education, which is why I like to spend time doing what I do and bringing you guys this material. Asa Grant Hilliard, another name that is known out there to a lot of our greats. Who really got the time to study up under these greats. And one of his great works is the teachings of Ptah Hotep. And this is kind of getting into the origin stories of man itself, and kind of what Ptah represents and what the ancient people said Ptah was, which is kind of the first model of man, if you will. He's an aspect of creation, one of the very first aspect, and we are, kind of modeled after that as well. But Ptah represents our instincts of man and everything like that that you have. So this was consciousness, if you will. He represents consciousness and how that's going to move throughout you. So this is breaking down the teachings, and kind of, I'll get into this, what the pyramid text would be about. The oldest text in the world. People talk about, all these different scrolls in the Middle East, that and that. No, it's the pyramid text in the temple of Unis. And I talked about this also. Oldest text in the world, challenge that. Next, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, very, very, very great brother here. I have this book that came before Columbus. It is a complete classic, especially for your maybe 14, 15 and on up. Get your children information like this, because this talks about that indigenous presence here. Everybody wants to know what tribe they came from and all these kind of things. And sometimes that information is lost, or you got to go real deep for it. But this brother book right here, oh my gosh, one of the best on the market, one of the best I've certainly read, as far as breaking down all of the presence of when Africans left the continent of Africa coming over here to America, and how you get the rise of the Olmec culture. A lot of people talk about the Mayans, but there are a a sub group of the Olmecs. They come last, and a lot of the buildings and temples and things down there, they were built by them, but there is a Kemetic connection. He's going to talk about the garments, the clothes, and the relationships that people had, and some of the first boats built and all that time. So way before European discovery. So this is what your child need to be, discovering in Blacks in Science, how we had a relationship with nature, how we had a relationship with the cosmos and understood that differently. Very, very powerful book. So Ivan Van Sertima, got to check him out. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I actually heard some non-FBA girl mention Dr. Welsing, and kind of talked about her negatively, but never. Dr. Welsing is one of our great queens, one of our great mothers, and she also exposed white supremacy, but white supremacy hiding behind genetics, literally, and how we are genetically different. There was always talk at some time when throughout history where Europeans were trying to say that they were genetically superior than us. But I challenge not. The only reason why we have bad genes right now and everything like that is because they created that problem. All of the bad food that they've put in our neighborhood, the lack of resources, the lack of grocery stores, the lack of medical care, and, all of these other things, they created this problem. And really the economic gap, and we're going to talk about that. But she points out in the ISIS paper how self-consciously the European has to do things because he is not melanated. And this is going into that scientific depths of the differences between us. And this was definitely a big pushback. and how white supremacy has to control that. You have to control color. You have to control the numbers because genetically we could outproduce them. If all the brothers were out of prison, it would be a wrap, which is why you've always had an influx of them putting different groups over us and different groups in front of us with, resources, because they know we could outproduce them any day, and so this was a big deal. And but she's a great, again, you can find her on YouTube, a lot of documentary work with some people I'm going to point out later. Now we got this great brother here, Claude Anderson. Claude Anderson's still alive too. And Claude Anderson is a goat when it comes to economics and when it comes to the numbers and talking about white supremacy and the intentional, economic divide and how they came up with these plans, how they did all of these things and why they had to do all of these things. So when I tell people, are you really getting educated? We talk about Cat Williams and all this other stuff all day long and goes viral and break the internet. When are you guys going to break the internet on education or reparations? Like, come on, everybody get their take on that. But we are going to be a wealthless group probably by 2050 or before that. The wealth gap is so big and we will not survive here if we don't have the resources. We're getting bought out of everything, can barely afford a house, and we got the same programs that put us in these situations, mass incarceration, the Planned Parenthoods, all of that, which is a crazy campaign right now. You got more focus on abortion than strengthening and empowering a group of people who you deliberately neglected. Like, I can't believe that. And this is VP campaigns and all that, all the money they waste, but they will not empower us. So Dirty Little Secrets and the work that Claude Anderson talks about that, man. Like, this is real. Y'all better get into the game. Dr. Leonard Jeffries, another great. Dr. Leonard Jeffries is what you would call a Kemetic priest. These are the brothers, again, on those trips, going to Africa, studying, breaking down the Medu Neter, breaking down the spiritual systems and teaching people, getting people in the temples. Back then in the ancient world, you had to go 40 years to study to become your so-called master mason. And I talked about that before. These are men that dedicated their life to this type of work, like deep body of work. You can find Brother Leonard Jeffries on YouTube. He's still alive, which is good. Real quick. So another one of my favorites actually was a teacher, and I think on the East Coast, and was teaching bunches of Black people. So very good. We can be our own teachers within our community. And this is kind of what this video is to show you guys. Also, now, Dr. Ashaka Musa Barashango. Say that 5 times in a row. Another powerful brother, almost looked like one of my family members. Crazy enough, my father-in-law. But yes, Brother Barashango, cold on the mic when it comes to the presentations and public appearances and speaking. You can find him still on YouTube. But check this work out. African people in the European holidays, a mental genocide. And the reason that is, folks, is because it is. The longer you support and finance holidays and things that do not have to do with empowering you, or you really don't get anything, your people are not really getting fed from giving and spending. And with the wealth gap, the way that it is, I already talked about that. This is something that has to be a genocide. It's a slow kill. And that's because all the origins of these holidays have some type of ill undertone to them. All this is an extension of Rome. You guys need to get that and understand that and go look at what they were doing. A lot of this stuff breaks down from Saturnalia, which was a festive holiday that they celebrated at the end of the year. They disguise it up under all of this other stuff, but really, really ill undertones. And he exposed that in a lot of other things. I mean, I could go on and on about this brother. This is like my art gallery, if you will, which is why I picked this style. But what I can say is I could have filled it up, but we're not going to do that. There's a lot that I could have filled up with a lot of these people. Next here, Brother Amos Wilson. Amos Wilson is a name a lot of y'all probably heard out there rather. talking about psychology in the black child and how a lot of these epigenetics, if you will, and this is a term that they're starting to use again more in the medical spaces, and I know that because I work closely with the clinic. And this is a thing that is basically passing on traumas, passing down everything that we went through. And we still suffer from that today. Everything is almost still kind of an extension of a plantation for black people. No different from Hollywood and the craziness that's going on there, the industrial prison system, and how we are scrapping and fighting in survival, and just the ratchetness we will allow in the community. Sexy Red, rappers like that, and not to brag on them, I understand, because when you are can't empower your people, give your people the jobs, people are very desperate, to do, different things. So I get that, I understand it, but also it looks bad. And a lot of our kids are watching this stuff. There's other videos going viral with, babies dancing and stuff they shouldn't be. So psychology, this starts very early on. And if they can interpret negative things early on, this will affect you in the systems and broken homes. So Amos Wilson studied that. So if black psychology, this is somebody I would definitely encourage you to look up, as well as brother Naeem Akbar, who also deals with black psychology, breaking the mental chains of slavery. This stuff is deep, so Black history, man, do yourself a favor and try to learn something new. Dr. Charles Finch, one book I put up here from him, The Star of Deep Beginning. And this book is very powerful because, again, this goes and talks about the ancient Kushite, Kemetic geology, psychology, geography, understanding, and cosmo, the studying of the cosmos, rather, sorry, and how they had their own origin story, and where we come from. The Star of Deep Beginnings, talking about Sirius A and Sirius B, so this brother was deep. Get you some grandmaster teachers on your list. We're still doing it so we can kind of politic and do our own things. These are the people. I wouldn't tell you, hey, go follow these people. You do whatever you want to, but this is consciousness speaking loud. And if you can't understand that, then you just don't want to be informed. Ashra Kwesi. And to my brother Ashra Kwesi, I will apologize. I don't have any posters around here and I couldn't find your birth date. I wish I knew. But Ashra Kwesi is my GOAT. This is the first brother that I came in contact with, put on by a friend of mine who was studying some things. And he told me to check him out and completely changed my life. And Ashra Kwesi is where I started my journey of just kind of really debunking all the lies, especially Christianity, because I was still a Christian at that time. And this was, I don't know, 2014, 15 when I came across him. So it's been a while since I've been doing, this, and found out that this is another brother that was going back to ancient Kemet and showing the proof, but showing the theft in the temple. Because again, Kemetic priests, these are brothers that can decipher the Medu Neter, tell you the stories and what happened. And Kwesi is the best, and his wife is so powerful. She does a lot of stuff with the ladies. But you want to see something powerful, watch any one of Kwesi's presentations online. This man should be known by all of our children. And I think they still do tours to this day. But very powerful brother. I thank you, and hopefully one day I'll get to meet him. That would be definitely powerful. Man, can't say enough. You need to get to kemetnew.com and see everything that they have going on. Very powerful. Anthony T. Browder was followed soon after I started following Kwesi's work. And they work closely together. Another brother that goes back, studied under Dr. Ben, the Asa Grant Hilliards, everybody that I went before, a lot of these people studied under them. So this is what we miss and lack in the black community. And that is that passing of torch of information. We've been able to pass a lot of silliness and destruction and poison, but you have to pass information to have some type of empowerment. And I'm kind of glad that the system is breaking down and they don't know what to do with our material and the lies are coming out and people are taking a stand, because that gives us a chance to get in front of it and do more in our communities. There's so much that I got going on with mine, which is why I kind of been away from recording. And I realized that, hey, if people want to come get this information, they will. Some people got real short attention spans right now. And it's kind of sad, but that is what we've created. We've fried a lot of brain cells. So it takes work to get here to sit down to do this. Put me in on a car ride, you good. Professor James Small, another great man. Professor James Small is another one of my top favorites. Kind of the same thing. These are brothers that teach. These are brothers that studied under the grace, that's been over there, that speak the language, spent a lot of time amongst different tribes and understand the differences and see the ancient time still connected throughout Africa today. You know, these are your brothers that can break down all of those stories, man. You need to figure out uh, about Professor James Small if you don't know. And he's also a consultant on the Malcolm X series that was recently on Showtime, Hulu, you know, all that with Forrest Whitaker. Because this brother came up under, you know, the X family and has a relationship with that family. So they chose him to be a consultant. So that's how deep he goes. And so much knowledge, so much wisdom. All of the stuff is out there. Also, Happy Film. If you guys follow happyfilmtv.com, these guys get in the room. A lot of these people are still alive, and they talk about this, headed with Sister Felicia. I don't know them personally, but I follow their work, you know, and very, I'm very close to what they do. So definitely need to check that out. Brother Infudishi, one of my other favorites. I actually got two of his books in here. And the Spirit of the Magi, I'll talk about that real quick because that's actually documenting Menchu Hotep, who lived and existed, which was always my thing. When you talk about a lot of characters in the Bible, outside of Taharka, which was a Nubian Kushite king who really existed, and maybe like two or three other people, there's no other bodies. And that's always been a problem. You know, not a museum of natural Bible artifacts. So none of that. I've said about that many times. Where's the DNA? Where is the sandals? Where is the hair? Something, you know, the actual stuff. So they're coming out and saying it now in so many words that all this stuff is bogus. These are allegory stories. These are mythology. And people have been distracted a lot by this because it was necessary. It was necessary for a super group to get over you. Now the joke's up, time's up, you know. But Menchu Hotep, real person, documented his life and his way and his journey and, you know, the rites of passage, which a lot of young men don't have today, which is why everything is backwards. There's no rite of passage anymore. You know, everything is free for the taking, you know, and sisters don't know what to do with that. So a lot of this is about the balance and what you had to go through to be a king. Infudici is a real, you know, Medjai Knight, warrior, black belt. This guy knows crystals and stones and so much history and again participated with all these other greats. I could go on and on about how great this brother is. Kaya Hiawatha Kamene. Say that. This is another one of my favorites. This brother here, I would love to meet him and everybody I talked about who's still living. Brother Kamene, so powerful. I own the Shabaka Stone book. And when I say it's probably, again, one of the best books that I've ever read, breaking down the origin stories of what the Kushite Kemetic theology was, one of the best books. This book is amazing, and you need to go read it. You need to read this book. Very deep. And that just blows this, oh, that blows the Bible. It blows the Bible out the water when it comes to the detail and depth. And you will see how much baloney and comedy that stuff is and why it's written the way it is. Okay. Versus how we were writing at a time. You know, now, of course, it's in this brother's own words, but this is deciphering, you know, the period, the Shabaka stone and what's on that stone. And if you don't know about that, I talked about that in historical origins, like 4 or 5, something like that. But very, very powerful brother. Spirituality before religion. Again, spirituality before religion. The title is itself speaks a lot of words. You guys have to get with the program. You know, times are changing. It's the information age. And we're breaking barriers with that. So what are you going to do? Who are you going to choose to listen to? Dr. Phil Valentine, this is a great brother when you talk about metaphysics and science and again, the cosmos and the heavens. He wrote this project about the wounded womb and how the sisters, you guys are here to lead humanity because everything comes to you. And when the womb is wounded by the drugs, the junk, the dysfunction, you know, all of the horrors that life could offer, you know, to women, especially black women, you know, this is the result of a lot of backwardness that we get, and you can only have right balance with the right masculine and feminine balance. So Dr. Phil Valentine is very, big into that. And again, another Kemetic priest. These people know the language and spend time with the people, been over there and studied, man. Y'all gotta give it the greats. Runoko Rashidi, man, this is my boy. He just passed a couple years ago. Big at exposing the African presence everywhere in the world. Every continent, every country, every island, this brother covered it. I don't think anybody else has done more work than Runoko Rashidi. Okay. And if you don't know who he is, this is very sad. Black history must needs to take a turn. We need to do different things. And social media has helped that. But we still gotta go and get our great list, that so we can share this, so we can pass this down. This is why I take time to do these recordings. This is for my kids. I'm not doing it for the subscribers and all the followers. This is information, my legacy, what I thought, what I knew. You need to pass that on, and this is a way that we can do it quickly, recording. But Runoko Rashidi, man, African presence, every continent. I don't care what you think of his name, and we could talk about the African people there. This brother, the coldest. Look him up. Still on YouTube. Go find his work. Sister Shaharzad Ali, one of our great sisters. Got to get some females in there. She is another one talking about, the guide to the black man, the guide to the black woman, talking about that balance and what we could do better to build better relationships with each other, and what needs to happen to see ourselves in empowerment. The black family, everything comes through the black family. So you have to understand that. She's a sister who gets a lot of slack, but nothing she says is wrong, as far as the angle in her works, man. Study her. Now, we'll get to one of my favorites, Dr. Ray Hagins. Coming from my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri, you know what it is. Ray Hagins is the chief elder and leader of the African Village, the St. Louis chapter. And I know this brother personally. He was the officiant at my wedding, and so I appreciate you. Thank you so much again. And he had to make the list. Big inspiration early on in my life. This brother used to be a Christian pastor and completely flipped the St. Louis scene upside down with his work once he came head on into the truth. And he'll tell you that as far as finding that there were different stories, different origin stories of humanity and everything like that. And there was so much more outside of the Christian religion. So he completely changed his work and dedicated his wife to black empowerment and education, and letting us know that there was more out there. So I appreciate you, Brother Ray, and what you've done for the city. Thanks again for the wedding speech and everything like that, man. So a very powerful brother, man. So this is, again, bringing up that self-love. You guys need to study some people, and his YouTube presentation is fire. Matter of fact, Brother Hagins goes live every Sunday still, holding it down. And I tune in to his lot of work on Sunday. So you guys need to check him out. Brother Jabari Osaze. This is a brother I found out through somebody else I'm going to talk about later. But Jabari Osaze, again, another one of our Kemetic priests, and specifically he studies high studies in etymology and the cultural ways of ancient Kemet and everything like that. And again, this is another Meta Nature brother. So I'm pulling them out the works when these Hebrews and all that, they say they don't, things haven't been deciphered, and they have no scholar list. You guys have to prove everything with the Bible. And I'm not challenging that, but we're going to need more proof outside of that. So we got a kit list that can actually, go do that, do these works. I'm giving you names that can do the work. And I just don't see any other scholars. Maybe Zion Lex, who is great, but not too many out there. Or my brother, I forget his name, Garfield. Brother Garfield is cold. Honorable mentions. But yeah, so Jabari Osaze, man, you can find his stuff on YouTube, man. This brother still checks out to this day. Brother Robin Walker, giving a shout out to the UK. This brother here is very powerful, especially his piece When We Ruled the World. And Brother Walker was able to show, again, Kushite, Ethiopia, Phoenicians, how we had all the trade routes, how everything was going, and that early presence in all of these other continents, and showing you the similarities between all these other nations and kingdoms. So UK, y'all got some powerful people up there. If you're watching this from the UK, you need to know about Robin Walker, man. Google these people. Look up all these people on YouTube, man. Education is something serious. Blacks in Science, Volume 1, and talking about our connections with the stars and the cosmos. Now, Brother Sonetta on Sonetta TV brought on Jabari and a couple other these people. Sonetta is the God. Sonetta is the God of media. And the reason I say that is because Sonetta was able to bring together so many different walks of life and backgrounds of people to a space where we could challenge religion. Whether you were Hindu, Christian, you believed in the Kemetic theology and spiritual systems, whether you are Muslim, Islam, all of that. Sonetta brought everybody to Sonetta TV to chop it up on one platform. And when you say so many stars were created on there, good and bad, but so many stars rock this world, and especially the East Coast. And really, I was good. So a lot of y'all know about Sonetta, but if you do not know and you want to get deep dives on religion and talk, Sonetta brings all the goats together, all the good people together to chop it up. So I encourage you, check out Brother Sonetta. And him in his own mind, this brother studied up under Khalid Muhammad, or came up under him, it was a part of, that whole era. And so Khalid, definitely honorable mention. So this brother is powerful in his own right and knows some knowledge, man. Sonetta sat at every foot of every great you can probably think of. Should definitely be giving his flowers, man. Appreciate you, big bro. Shaka Amos, I found out about him on Sonetta TV. This is another brother that does nicknames himself the Hebrew Killer, and heat fire. Every presentation I've seen this brother do when it comes to, the Hebrew Israelite religions or theories and all that stuff, this brother gets you good, especially on the Torah, the Pentateuch, the Talmud. Those are, when you come to those original books in language, this brother knows etymology, sharp. Blessing to us in this circle. So man, definitely check out some of Shaka's work. He's a little controversial. People say what they want about Shaka, but man, Shaka, you can't debate the facts, that brother spits, man. So big ups to Shaka. Appreciate everything you've done. Now, pow, 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 pow. This is probably one of my favorite hitters, one of my young OG warriors, I say, coming from the Midwest, out to D-Town, Brother Sai, Rasu and Seti, King Seti, man. We definitely rock with you. Appreciate everything you do. I don't know nobody else who put more videos out than Seti, straight up, of exposing the occult, exposing all those factions, anything you can think of. Can't nobody mess with Seti. I'm going to tell you that right now. People may not like his tone, his directness, or his language. I don't care about any of that. Because when you hear these facts and you listen to this brother, ain't nobody messing with Seti. Now, if you got kids, Seti might not be, for anybody, I would say maybe under 15, 16. But you can't do nothing with Seti. That's really all I got to say. You Google his name and all his videos. He got something for everything. You fire, bro. Big fan. Big ups to you. Hope to meet you too as well one day, man. Y'all, you can't mess with Seti. Tariq Nasheed. It's another one of my favorite brothers. Hope to meet this brother too one day, man. Tariq has taught me so much. Big ups to him. I actually came in Tariq when Tariq was writing books, a book called Art of Mac. And so this brother got some game too, one of those old LA pimps, kind of slick. But Tariq is so powerful in our community and well respected. And the movement that he has put together, FBA, Foundation of Black Americans, make sure you know that. Just basically, keeping our lineage on code and representing what we are, Foundation of Black Americans. So big up to him and the work that he's doing. And can't nobody mess with this dude when it comes to the DVD world. Hidden Colors, great. what you did with Hidden Colors, bro. It is phenomenal. I encourage you, if you want to get your spouse or somebody, your significant other, something for Black History Month, get them the Hidden Colors DVD. And no, I'm not promoting for this brother. I don't get paid for anything like that. Just phenomenal works, and the scholars and the people that he put together. A lot of people, or some or few, are on this list that are in these movies. So this is deep. So we got our own underground and really are running things, but people need to really catch up and just catch on, man. Don't be sleep. Again, education is the only way out the hood. People talking about short attention spans. Well, those are the people that are going to, get lost, man. You cannot voluntarily, give up in this fight. Uh, I can say a lot about Tariq. Yvette Carnell, it's funny, I got them back to back because they don't like each other. But again, I told my wife this, if you took everybody who is vouching for us right now and they put all their silly differences aside, and this all was for FBA or ADOS, which I'm going to talk about, we would run, our own wing, our own campaign. So I really want to see the unification of our superpowers who we have right now, our grandmaster leaders, because we support all of you all so much and we appreciate everything that you guys are doing, but we're going to need more, and a unification of all of us would be powerful. But Vet Carnell represents the ADOS Advocacy Foundation, American Descendants of Slaves, which is us too. It's the same thing, but this is different. Really breaking up and pointing out our lineage and how we are a different and specific group here in America. We are not African Americans. We are Black Americans, or foundational Black Americans. We have a specific lineage that built this country. So she has done so much in the speaking out and putting her neck on the line for being a voice for us, for reparations, and a huge advocate for the whole movement. So listen to her radio show, Breaking Brown. She does things all the time, man. This is what we need to get behind. This is who your children need to be listening to. Sister Dr. Mayat, she's another person that works with Tariq and some of these other people. Came up with Sinetta, I believe. Another beautiful sister in our community, breaking down a lot of things, and she works with so many other people on her podcast, on her show. Who are these people? These people have been huge inspirations, to me getting, educated, which is why I'm a beast now. You can't do nothing with me. Brother Umar Jackson, or Dr. Umar Afatunde, whichever one. But most of you guys know him by Umar. Much respect. You can say what you want to about the Prince of Pan-Africanism, but Umar is like that clock y'all say. He's right. A broken clock, one a day, or whatever that analogy is. Nevertheless, Umar is somebody who still can't be, taken lightly for his mindset, for what he will do, for what he has done. Big ups to the school and stepping out there to educate our children, talking about Black psychology and Black study, and the attack on Black boys. That's kind of how he started. And then, kind of turns into a lot of other things. People can disagree if they want to, but Umar is somebody you still need to be following closely and listening to when he speaks, because he's a powerful man in our community, and we got a lot of respect for him. I don't care what people say about some of these people that I'm putting in the same room who may have disagreements with each other, but you guys are just as all equally as important to the movement, and we won't get there unless we are all on the same page. Reparations. Antonio Moore. Antonio Moore works closely with Yvette Carnell. Now, this brother, I haven't seen nobody, outside of the great Claude Anderson, we talked about him earlier, that has done more with the numbers and being top on the numbers of how white supremacy has affected us, the economic wealth gap numbers. Antonio works with the hard data, and this brother is cold. This brother is good at putting everything down. On his show, Tone Talk. So I love tuning into him. Young brothers, it's good to see young brothers out here standing up for us, because we are closest in age, and, to see us on the next line, on the front line. We are those next warriors, which is why I put all these people kind of in order of passing that torch. You have to have a closeness to your grandmasters who have done the research, who have exposed all the BS and said this is the way to go. But again, they have been hiding only because the dominant society don't want us to find them. But Tone Talks, definitely check him out. The Real Merkaba is like a dark horse in all this, because this brother probably has just as much content of somebody like a SETI or Sonetta, but real big in breaking down all the contradictions in the Bible. When you want to see some heat, you go to Merkaba. This brother breaks everything down and shows you the comparison. He showed me where stuff is stealing. He works with etymology too. He works with knowing Greek. He works with knowing the Kemetic language and all these other different, things in between. This brother is sharp. One of the greatest really on this list of, young kings coming in to be at his peak. So I can say a lot about Merkaba, deep library of education. You guys got to get hip. It may take some time, but I love education. I eat this stuff up because I don't want to be sleep out here. So when you get in these circles of conversation, you know how to defend yourself. You know how to not go with the norm, or you can help educate somebody else. So I'm always dropping a gem. Check out Merkaba, fire. And like I would say, can't nobody mess with Merkaba. Um, Brother Rizza Islam. And Rizza Islam is pretty much where I would stop at this list and where I'm kind of going to stop as far as some of the younger people. There are a couple honorable mentions. Chase the God, The Real Sinet. I like their work. And there's some other young brothers out there doing some things that are very, very powerful. And again, passing that torch. Rizza Islam. Can't nobody mess with Rizza Islam. This brother, he exposes this is a conspiracy, brother, the government stuff, all that stuff. You want to get some real information, Rizza Islam, you need to be following this brother. So for me, it isn't about a Muslim thing, Christian thing. It's about the truth. And, the truth, it's like it says, it will set you free. But the truth is also dangerous. And once you know the truth, you become completely different. Your mindset, changes. And that's what we need to do. This is about Black empowerment. And so right now, Rizza Islam might be the top for, uh, social Black empowerment, if you will, and not falling at the sleep at the wheel, next to Tariq, I would say, as far as where we go. And a lot of cats, before we move on to my next two, I got two more, y'all. I got two more. Um, a lot of cats ask me, certain podcasts, Cameron, all these other rappers. No diss, I love Cameron as a rapper. But some of these rappers that have podcasts now, the rap career is, I wouldn't say over. These guys are still some of our greats. There's so many others. But they have had a lot of opportunity to come out and be woke, be powerful, say different things, do what they want with the money early on in the career. But a lot of them too were sucked in, distracted by stuff. So I don't really take time in listening to rapper podcast shows and things like that. I have no interest in that. Black empowerment shows only, because that stuff is distracting. It's very toxic. We are right now at an all-time high of, the male female balance and the toxicity behind that, and the just, they find a way to show you a need, almost that we don't need each other, and that is completely far from the truth. So we have to get on throw. That is the threat to the global system, and that is the Black family. And coming into my last two, these two shall not be named by real name, or you will never see them, and I like it that way. Two voices of God that speak the truth. Professor Black Truth, again, good at exposing the Democratic Party. If you're a person that really believes in all of that kind of stuff, and we're just going to keep waiting and eventually we'll get something for Black people because Joe Biden is good and all that. Look, Coonan is over, man. These people completely destroy the political parties, and everybody that we're telling you to watch out for, they hit it on the head and expose that, all the phony baloney that they can throw at you, and all the bad food, man. We're ahead of the game. We have our own media outlets. It used to, be a lot of the coonery, outlets that would cover for these people, the Democratic shields. We're not doing that, because we have yet to see you guys really do something for Black people, and that is hard resources or institutions, funding, having our own, panels and of people of power that can speak for us. We have people that can speak for us. Y'all just never asked. Y'all rather go get athletes, rappers, celebrities that don't know jack and put them out so we can go viral and argue over. Like, it's so stupid. Man, get to the truth, and Professor Black Truth will light you up. And last, the Black Authority. There's nobody more ruthless than Jason Black. Say what you want. People thought Kevin Samuels was bad, but this guy puts his feet up on your table, makes a sandwich in any home he will step in. And can't nobody mess with the Black Authority. Building a strong army of us a space where we can collectively call in, share our opinions, and talk about us and our topics and what we build, talking about the foundation of this country, standing on reparations and everything like that, and also destroying the Democratic Republican Party. Doesn't matter who. All these guys are phony. It has to go. We have to be able to do something different. So that was my presentation. And I want you guys to understand something. You can get all this on YouTube. You know, I'm saying one thing, go see for yourself. And when you start peeling back the layers of information, finding people you really like that can empower you and help you with your studies, I guarantee you it will change your life, man. I did it. You can do it. And I don't need to record a million videos or posts. Again, just enough for my family to know where I'm coming from and my legacy to see that. Some of you guys are passing off straight trash and wonder why we got the community flooded, the way it is. We are in an unbalanced high time. Right now, men are looking more feminine than ever and women are looking more masculine than ever and speaking that way. And this is what our children are getting a hold of. So I just encourage you guys to do something different. Don't be stupid this Black History Month. Find you one of these scholars on this list. Look up their material, look up their YouTube, and go from there. You guys have been good. I thank you. Thank you so much for participating and viewing this channel. Make sure you share this channel, subscribe, like it, send it to your auntie, whoever. And again, the door is always open. I challenge people to step up and we can chop it up. If you have a different opinion or anything like that, we can record an episode on it, so it's all open game here on the Midwest Black. But this year, 2024, make sure you do something better than you did last year. Peace out. Y'all be good. Holla.